And we go now to District 100. State Representative Nelda speaks, the state representative from that district. Nelda, how are you this morning?
I'm great. How about you, Paul?
I'm doing good myself. So listen, I want to have you on because last week I saw a Facebook post about your work down at the Capitol. You guys attempting to do something with an education adequacy contract. I don't even really know what that is, but it sounded interesting. What are your thoughts?
Well, this is something that happened back in 2002 when Governor Huckabee was governor, and Lakeview School District had pressed charges against or filed a lawsuit against him for and it became known as the Lakeview bill. And what they were asking for, they did not feel that the schools were being funded adequate, and neither did they think they were being done fair. So when they filed this, then a long procedure through the court, it even went to the Supreme Court, and they came back and they said that I think they wanted us to do it every 10 years, to go through and look and see what were we doing, because for all of the schools straight across the board. And the very things they wanted the education committee to start looking at, which is legislators, that all of it was done across the board, and that, the teachers' salaries was comparable to the states around us. Also, that talked about the students, the remedial, going to college, which today we have the same thing, Paul. And, we've got we've got so many children that's going into school, to college, and they're not equipped. They're having to take remedial courses. So when we looked at this, we were presented a contract back in May, and that was from a group out of Denver, which we know as APA, is what that was the initials. But they came to us and they did not put into this contract anything that we had asked for. They just, and it was like right at $1 million, $944 million. So we rejected that, and so then we said we want more than one contract to look at. So that's what we were doing. But they came back to us with a better contract and answered a lot, that they'd go into the school districts, look at this, see where the weaknesses are, and report back to us, help us get these schools back up to what they should be for the children's sake. And we also had their contract at this time was $650,000, so they wanted to deal with it. And then we had another contract, but the things that most of us was concerned about with that one, there was a group that had gotten together just to do a contract. They've never done any of this kind of work, and they were from over close to northwest Arkansas. They were in Missouri, and they did not have anything in that contract that we were wanting, to look at in the schools to see where their weaknesses are, what's going on in those schools. And so when it came down to a vote, there were, for the APA, it was 11. They separated us out. We do a joint committee. And the legislators, the House, they voted 11, which it passed on our side. But then when it came down to the Senate, they needed 6 votes, and they only had 5. And so that one failed, and we came back and voted on this Schultz. That's what that one was, from over close to northwest Arkansas. And the concerns that we had with that one, because they had not done anything like that.
Did that one pass?
No,
oh, okay,
it failed big time.
Okay.
And they got a lot of donations, and they never really would tell us where these donations was coming from. So you want to go in with a clean slate. I don't want. But anyway, I wound up, when we lost the other one, I voted for them to at least push them to do what we needed, but it failed real big. So now we do not have a contract. There was a group that really out of this that wanted us to do this and let the teachers that is in this committee be the ones in charge to try to push and work through the Bureau of Legislative Research, which they're not equipped to do that. They can't do that. They can give us all of the information we need, but they'll not be able to go into these classrooms, go into these schools, and see where our weaknesses are. And so now we do not have anything. It's my understanding, after speaking with our the chairman for the House, next month he's hoping to come back and us look at it again, and maybe we can get something passed.
Now, remind us, we're talking with State Representative Nelda speak. So you're saying, though, that this securing this contract to, with somebody to check on the adequacy of our schools, it is mandated by the courts that we do this? Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So y'all got to find somebody, right?
We're going to have to do something. And Paul, I'm afraid, teachers, they probably know where the weaknesses are. They probably know the schools, but they're not. It's not their place to go in and take all of the heat from these school districts.
Yeah, that's
we
true.
need. You need. To me, we need somebody that has worked with it. My question is, Paul, and I think it is with everybody. What are we doing in Arkansas that other states are not doing? And then what are other states doing that Arkansas is not doing? We need to know the weaknesses and work on them.
Yeah.
The only way we're going to get children out of poverty is going to be through education. You got to educate them out of that.
Yeah.
And that was my whole thing. I just have a real burden in me that we've got such a high rate of students coming out of good schools, but they're still having to take remedial courses.
Yeah. Well, and if you talk to business owners, I mean, gosh, you talk about that remedial, like where you go to college. I would argue that if you're having to take remedial classes when you're in college, maybe you shouldn't be in college. But if you talk to some business owners, they just need people that can do a little math and can read and show up to work on time, in a lot of ways, and we're failing at even that. I mean, that's why we kind of have a skilled workforce crisis here in Arkansas.
That is true, and if you speak with, as you said, with these owners of businesses and companies, they can't keep their people coming to work. They don't think they have to come on time.
Yeah.
They think they can take a week off, come back to work. They've not reported in or anything, but their job's still there.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a contractor out there that y'all could contract with, but if there was a contractor made up of Arkansas small business owners and let them come in there and tell you what's wrong with the schools. I mean, I know that's an out-of-the-box idea, but they might be able to, kind of figure out, let the small businesses around there tell the schools, well, this is what we really need. We need them to know these things. If they know these things, we can hire them.
We did go, Meeks, Representative Meeks ran a bill, and I was so thankful to get to sign on to that. And it was just the basics of how to do a checkbook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the other thing that kind of burns all of us, you go into a place and they can't give you change without that machine.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't count it back to you to see if it's correct. They just hand it to you. And that, we have failed so far in just the basics.
Yeah.
And I think computers are wonderful, and that's the thing. It's here, but our kids need to know how to do this thing without the computers.
No, you're right. And I was thinking about this the other day. If Google went away, my spelling skills would drop they would just the plummet through the floor. Like I can't spell without Google, I've realized these days, because I don't have to, right? I don't have to memorize words anymore that are hard to spell. You just figure it out, or spell check on Microsoft Word or whatever. And so a lot of times they're like, well, I don't really know how to spell this word, but I'll get close. And I'll just let the spell check fix it for me. You know what I mean?
I know we all do that, I think.
But I mean, there are consequences to that. But I do think, I think we definitely have got to do something. I've always thought it was interesting, Nelda. Again, we're talking with State Representative Nelda Speaks, where, you have people talk about workforce training, and I think in theory, workforce training sounds good, but but if you actually think about it, we're talking about people who have already been educated by the same government education program for 13 years. And so before I fund workforce services for people who are outside of high school, I don't want to give the same amount of money. I'd like to try to fix the program where we're mandating they go to school for 13 years. I want to fix that first before we start funding other programs. That's just my opinion. What do you think about that?
Well, I agree, Paul. And here's my thing. We've tried this program, we've tried another program, and we're still at the bottom. And I hate that phrase, thank God for Mississippi. Well, Mississippi's going to pass us, and we've got to get our act together. But one thing I was thrilled, I visited our technical school here at ASU, which, the kids are coming in from high school, and they are taking all of these technical courses and that, plumbing, electrician, all the different things. And from that, she said, the teacher told me, she said, when they get here, they may miss and they do this. She said, but by the time that we get through with them, they're coming on time, they're there, they're ready to go, they're excited. So maybe through the workforce and these technical schools, that they are beginning to get through to some of these.
Yeah.
But some of this is starting at home.
Yeah.
But other states, Paul, are achieving with the same group of kids that we have. And where are we failing? That's my whole thing. You can't just put it back. Yes, the big part is in the home, but somewhere they have learned, and I don't think it's just pouring more money into it. They've learned how to achieve and work with these parents some way to pull these kids up.
Yeah. State Representative Nelda Speaks. It's always great to talk to you. Thanks for giving us an update about that adequacy contract. We appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you even asking, Paul.
Yeah.
And I hope you have a great day.
I hope you do too, and have a great week as well. So,
You bet.
all righty. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Nelda Speaks, everybody.